Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Psicast. I'm your host, Robert Marcy, and I'm joined here with Bill Montana.
Hey, Robert, how you doing? We're back.
Oh, yeah,
we got another wild one for him this week. We don't have any guests on this week. If you guys want to be a guest on Psicast, you're a known performer or something, email me. Most of you have my email. We'll take magic and bizarre magic, too. So, doesn't really matter there. So if you were an old-time creator or something that hasn't worked in many years, just want to talk about a few oddities of your work, that'd be cool. We're down with that kind of thing. So, or if some of you guys are knowing, or some of you that are listening to this, that know of one of the older creators that maybe was retired and hasn't put out anything in years, and you want to talk to him about getting them on Psicast, just listening to what they have to say, just let me know, and we'll see what we can do.
Absolutely.
We do have some guests we're trying to line up right now that are pretty exciting, but it's going to take time just to schedule in the dates. Some of the guys are still performing regularly, and some of them are retired, but some of the retired guys, I think, if we get them, it's going to be really pretty cool. And there's a couple of them you guys probably haven't heard about in 25 years. They're still around, so be kind of an interesting, and just an interesting chat to see what they're up to now. So that's going to be fun. We got that coming up. Okay, let's go on to new releases. The only thing I got out was the Other Factors of Mentalism we put out last week, or this week, I guess. Last week, or this week, I don't know, a couple days ago. That was out, and the program we did before that was, I don't remember.
Mystic Energy 8.
Yeah, Mystic Energy 8, right. I'm working on the ebook for that. Just completely forgot. I'm all bogged down in photo editing. Yay. But Mystic Energy 8's out. Other Factors is out. And a program we did a couple months ago, or about a month ago, with Zeke Powers is out. It's still available for a little while longer. And some bizarre program, I can't remember what it was, but it's out too. We're getting caught up, slowly but surely.
Surely.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And I don't think a lot of the guys that do this kind of thing or know what we actually go through to put this stuff together. It's pretty astounding, really.
Absolutely.
So, any other new products other than mine? Anything you saw this week?
Frankly, I haven't seen anything. It's almost like the whole industry is like in a hangover phase.
Yeah, that's what I would kind of call it, a hangover pre-Easter. I haven't seen much that came out on Magic and Mentalism market. There's a few things that should be probably, we can at least mention. Stevens Magic Emporium right now has the Chamberlain's hand lotion, the 2-ounce travel size. It's good for flying around the country. Kind of nice. For like a couple dollars, like $2.50 or something like that. That's kind of cool. They have a couple wood-haunted bottles left. You remember the old M bottle?
Oh, yeah.
They have a really nice turned wood one. There's like 2 of those left from what I hear. They're still in stock, and those are really cool for your M bottles. But that's about it, really. I mean, I didn't really see much. Did you?
No.
I don't know if I didn't see anything coming out of Las Vegas Magic Pro this week. I didn't see anything coming out of Denny, except for some older books, but most of those guys already have those.
Yeah, I haven't really seen anything.
Now I hear Yeah, I haven't seen anything or heard much, really. A couple of rumors that, some things are being worked on, like Dragon Skull UK is getting ready to come back. But every time I try to check the website, it's not working on my Firefox. So I don't know if it's back or what the deal is there, but when it comes back out, when it works, I actually see it working, I'll let you know, because that's going to be cool. Because that was a great place to find, like, Mary Tomac stuff, Brother Shadow stuff back in the day, other bizarre stuff.
Uh-huh.
Kind of a nice little resource there. But just nothing new. I don't understand. It's been like 2 weeks now.
It's really weird. Really weird.
Tom Jorgensen's work did get released. It's available now through Tom, if you want to copy the one I spoke about a couple weeks ago. It's out and starting to ship. So that's about it there, man. I mean, it's just not much.
Not much.
Which, I mean, in a way, it kind of goes through cycles like that. So it's spring and stuff, and, magic usually tones down a little bit around that time because a lot of people are going back to performing.
Mm-hmm.
But I would still like to see, one or two powerhouse releases in that, in this time. You know what I mean?
Right.
other than mine. Although it has been a good week for rare book hunting. So I will say that.
Right.
I bought one of the John Fisk's book I collect, the John Fisk philosopher historian from the 1800s. I bought one of his today, signed by John, 126 years ago. Pretty cool.
Oh.
And not a subject I normally read from John Fisk, but I have most of his books anyway, so it's a nice addition to the collection. The condition's a little rough on the cover, but otherwise pretty good. And I bought a couple of his other works on American history. Picked up a Goldwyn Smith copy of a history book today. It's pretty cool, from 1890s. So, that's not a bad week. That was today, actually. That was a pretty good day.
Yeah.
I don't know, for those of you that know me, some of you guys will know this, some of you won't, but I'll give it to you anyway. I collect county histories, and primarily with Ohio, dealing with Ohio. So if you guys see any of those, let me know. Prefer the ones from the 1800s, but we'll go up to about 1910, 1920. But if you see any of that stuff, let me know.
Uh-huh.
And stuff dealing with Ohio, Indiana, Illinois archaeology. So, if you see any of that stuff, let me know.
Okay.
Because I do collect that pretty heavily. Actually, most of my library got changed from Metalism and Magic recently to early history books. Because a lot of this stuff's not on PDF. I kind of like that a lot.
Right.
And a lot of it's not on Tor. Some of it's on the archive sites, for scholarly research, but not just generally, Here, let's knock this one off this week. Yeah, that's a good way to get your head knocked in. Oh, what was it? The small square from Riggs came back out this week. The Impact.
Oh, okay.
Which one was that? It's not the butterfly. It's not the skeeter. It's one of the Riggs bug boards. It's a small square one. The one that made years ago had a little Viagra. You can see through it. It said Viagra. That one came back out. Those are actually back in manufacture temporarily.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I can't remember what it was called. It's not the brown hornet. It's not the butterfly. I think it's a skeeter. The little tiny thing.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, I could double check for you while you're talking.
Yeah, we'll do it later. It's all right. But I think those came. I think I saw something like last week that a small batch of those has been made and ready to ship. So, if you don't have any of the bug boards from Riggs, you might want to get on that before he decides to quit making everything. And please read the terms of sale, because it could take a couple weeks for it to get to you, so don't be in a hurry.
Right.
Go one-man show up there. Man, it's busier than I am. That's pretty hard to do.
Okay, yeah, it is the Skeeter.
Skeeter, yeah, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't 100% sure, because you got like 4 or 5 that are small, small boards. Yeah. Only good for bugs.
But they look, pretty good.
They look good, dude. They look that batch looks really, really good. I know the baby hornets were looking outstanding. The last batch of those were made. We're just very, very precision tight. But yeah, a lot of that stuff is just, it's going to be, at one point it's going to get hard to get,
Right.
And I was a big fan of the old Robert Nelson boards, the Ultra Perfects and stuff. Grant's Ultra Perfect, Nelson's Ultra Perfect. For decades until I found, I saw me a Riggs piece. I said, ooh, we're going to switch up. We're going to upgrade this old 50-year-old board. And that's the thing, though. Sometimes the technology does improve to where you can actually justify upgrading it. Other times not.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff like that. Yeah, I really don't know if it's any better. Some of the new stuff compared to some of the older stuff.
No. I don't know if they, Riggs has got some really good boards, like you mentioned, the Firefly, Brown Hornet.
Yeah, and then, if I'm not mistaken, Raymond Carlisle, the Fowler, over at his site, makes the John Riggs pocket riders.
Mm-hmm.
And the Austin clips. Yeah, Austin. So if you go over to Carlisle, you can find some cool stuff over there, too. Looks like Carlisle's got a couple nice locks, too. For you guys who are looking, price is about the same it was 10 years ago, so, it's pretty good. But it's really good, well-made stuff. I own several Carlisle pieces. I actually use several Carlisle pieces because they are very usable, actually. I'm even a big fan of his blindfold. I like his blindfold. Other people hate his blindfold because it's so-called not examinable, but I'm like, why you running? And I use that at doing a spiritualist billet thing I talked about a while back with the Carlisle blindfold, man. I've done it with that, too,
Yeah.
Mainly, I was watching the room to see you steal the money out of the basket. The rough crowd.
Yeah. Carlisle's got some really good products. I know he's got the mental key. And,
yeah, Carlisle puts out a nice key. He does nice work. He knows his is an age key, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually the haunted key that he just aged, and he did a very unique aging process to it, so it looks right,
Mm-hmm.
But I think Steven still carries haunted keys because that's where I got mine at the last time. Those are getting hard to find too.
Or
they were for a while. When you need one, they're never around.
Right.
But I think that's about it for the stuff that's going on. Well, not much. I really wish there was more out, but
Yeah.
I mean, except for that monumental program we did the other day, it was like 2 hours and 45 minutes on other factors of mentalism.
Mhm. Yeah.
And Mystic Energy Age being finished up, and, you know, just not much going on, really. Kind of sad, actually.
Yeah. Not much going on, so.
I mean, there may be some new things out there. Let me be clear. There may be some new things out there. I did see a few new things that came out, but I'm not endorsing them because I don't like them. I think they're bullshit. I'm not going to mention it to you. It's just trash. Told them knock off stuff from the 60s, man. I'm not impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can find the same thing in one of my drunk drawers. Pick a drawer. It's probably in there.
Yeah.
But no, it's just been a slow couple of weeks. Hopefully it'll pick back up here shortly. Maybe we can get something unique coming out that's at least exciting to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
It would be kind of cool. But no, we don't have anything like that. Okay, so what do we want to talk to them this week about?
Oh, what should we?
I was hoping you have an idea. I mean, let's name a topic. Let's hit something else. Let's hit something random. We got any emails this week? No, of course not.
No, of course not. And those of you listening, those of you listening, just wanted to put this out there that if you have any products that you want us to consider mentioning and reviewing, just let Bill know on his email. Email Bill, and we'll take a look at it and consider it. So,
not everything will make it.
Yeah.
You know, I like new products that we don't really know quite their end stage yet. You know,
mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of brand new. It's in the works, but it's not out yet. So this is a good avenue for that kind of stuff too.
Right.
Because I'm a big fan of the stuff that's really, really new that you've never seen. You know.
Mhm.
But I'm not necessarily a fan of the stuff that's new because it's new. Just a fan of the stuff that, you know, looks interesting, that has potential.
Yeah. Only those things.
Yeah. You know, stuff that's not on the market right now that may have a new place in the marketplace. So,
yeah.
I'll leave that there. Y'all figure that one out. We won't actually do reviews. Right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, we talk about new tools and technologies that come out, tools and materials that come out for the workers. We like that stuff. We like stuff you can use for other things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we really do. I mean, that stuff is invaluable. But stuff's not coming out fast enough. Come on, people, step on it. Okay, let's get into let's go tools and material section on fortune-telling apparatus.
Okay.
I mean, I know you know that about as well as I do.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's start with pendulums.
Pendulums.
Well, that seems to be a fairly hot topic, you know.
Uh-huh.
But what are we actually looking for? Let's talk about what we're looking for in a pendulum.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll start with you, Robert.
So what are we looking for? let's see here.
Yeah, like when we're pendulum shopping, what are we looking for?
We're looking for color, density, weight. Something. We're looking for a pendulum that would actually fit us, that we would feel comfortable with using. Not something cheap, but something that when I look for a pendulum, the first thing I look for is not just with the way it looks, but the way it weighs. Okay? So the weight of a pendulum. You know, for what I mean by weight is that it's not too light, not too heavy, but somewhere in between. Right?
Well, you don't want a big dead weight that's, hard to lift and hard to move.
Right.
You don't want something light and flimsy that it just doesn't sway right.
Mm-hmm.
I look for things with a good chain. Not necessarily a thick chain, just a good quality chain. I don't like those cheap chains that break.
Yeah.
And they don't break when in use. They break when in the packing box, or they knot up, or they do all kinds of kink up, and I don't have time for that crap.
Right.
So I want a chain usually about an 1/8 inch thick, maybe at tops, maybe a little thicker. Not this 1/4 inch chains. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 1/4 inch, 3/16 inch gold chain on a big old weight down there like a pocket. It's just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That doesn't work real well. And I look for stuff that's, I was trained in jewelry, so I look for stuff that's pretty well made.
Mm-hmm.
Where the points of attachment, like where the hold area you hold the pendulum, the top is well made, well constructed, not going to break, not going to twist, not going to do any weirdness. The base of the bob itself, I'm looking for a nice quality bob.
Oh.
And especially where it's attached to the jumper. I'm looking for something that's easy to see, that's not, because I do pendulum forcing, but that's not trash and it's not, cheap.
Mm-hmm.
The jump rings are good quality. They're not real flimsy. I don't like that flimsy stuff. Because let me tell you the difference between a good jump ring and a cheap one. It's about 3 cents.
Yeah.
The good ones are maybe 6 cents, and the cheap ones are 3 cents. I mean, it's so petty. Why can't you give me a good quality jump ring?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a locking style like a key ring style, but that would work too. But just something nice quality of good metal,
Right.
Now, I know you're a big fan of silver pendulums. I know you got a nice sterling silver one.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But that's the kind of thing I'm going to be looking for in that. I'm going to be looking for a pendulum that has a nice weight to it, nice eye appeal. First off, it's eye appeal over, any of the technical aspects. Now, there is the infamous scroll foot pendulums from Thor Raventhal. Wow. That's a great pendulum. Proper length of chain, the whole nine. I mean, it's really just a really cool pendulum. Hard to get, though. But I have to buy one to use it. I don't know if he still makes them. Or when he does, they sell out so fast. It's not even funny.
Uh-huh.
And the hole for that pendulum is a little scroll leg bone with a little scroll paw for us,
Right.
For a bob. It's just a really cool looking pendulum. He's done a lot of bizarre work, but for a general metaphysical type, New Age, mentalist type pendulum, I'm going to go something with those characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like using the junk, man.
Right. Yeah, and you don't want to get those chains. You don't want to get those types of pendulums with the chains where they kind of they look like they're they start tangling by themselves. You don't want those. Okay. And what do I mean by that? It's like when you hold them, then there are parts in the chain where they just start like have like these tangling zigzag formations because then you know.
Yeah, it's got that like radio wave form.
Yeah.
Like a sine wave, it goes. Yeah, it's kind of. Well, that could be okay, depending on how the rest of it is. See, the problem with those, and that's usually seen on the real cheap pendulums. The problem with that is when you put it in somebody's hand, it can take 2 to 3 minutes to get still.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good.
Exactly.
And that's usually a key indicator of a cheap, low-end bob. Out of balance, bad bob. You know, not enough weight. The weight-to-chain ratio was off.
Mm-hmm.
And those are going to cause you all kinds of problems. Now, you don't want something too heavy either because those are known as dead pendulums. I'll give you some terminology. Dead means it almost literally takes force to move the pendulum.
Yeah.
Rather than, the typical pulse rate force or the typical holding force. Those are bad.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? The dead ones, the ones that just
right.
Too heavy. Now, some of those look really good. Like I saw some ones that were made by the late Rich Hennessy. Really nice, well balanced. Those were all pretty much good. There was 1 or 2 of them in there. I didn't think were as good as they could have been. But they were close, but he was making them out of, 2,000-year-old material, so you can pretty much deal with what you're working with, but still pretty good pendulum. I hear Pablo Amir's making some pendulums these days. They look pretty decent. I just can't tell from the photo if the chain's too thick or not,
Mm-hmm.
Some of them looked right, and some of them looked a little too thick on the chain for my taste. But, other than that, not bad. And there's a couple of the guys that are making pendulums here recently that some of them look pretty good, actually. They looks right.
Oh.
I mean, a good pendulum's going to run. What's your silver pendulum run? 200?
Yeah.
Around 200, yeah.
150, 200.
Yeah, that was sterling silver, though.
Right.
And those also handcrafted everything. I think they handcrafted everything on that pendulum except for the chain itself. That was all lost wax, mold casted silver that was polished out. Yeah, it was a nice pendulum. But a good pendulum should run. I think the cheapest I bought a good pendulum for was about $9, $10. About the price of the same other junk right next to it. Most expensive is probably a couple $100,
Right.
Well, unless you get into like Gabe Blackstone's. Harry Blackstone's wife made pendulums for a while. Those can run you. But those will be sterling silver, 14 karat gold. Mm-hmm. And they'll be really nice. Just throw that out there for some of you old school guys. Be like, hey, yeah, I got one of those back in the day when it was cheap.
But yeah, just because a pendulum is a little bit more expensive does not necessarily mean that they're good. Because I've seen some really expensive pendulums, and when I tried it out, they just absolutely suck. They're either too heavy or too light, and sometimes you just get stuff that just was made cheap, but made to look expensive.
Yeah, you got to watch it. Now, pendulum shopping. Let me tell you about pendulum shopping. That's one of the best things to do if you're going to let's say you plan to go out, check out your first New Age fair just to see what it's about, While you're there, do some pendulum shopping.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to find, it's Sharonville was last weekend. There's probably another 500 dealers down there, There's probably 1,000 pendulums in that room. you can pretty much find a pendulum. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
From the low end, cheap Chinese market trash to something you'd actually work with. And, you know, go to your local metaphysical shop, see what they got in stock, or your local metaphysical shops if you're in the town with, like Miami, that's got 6 or 7 of them. You know, Sacred Rock Stars over there in College Square in Miami has got some really nice pendulums. You can find some really great stuff at Five Sisters in Miami. And there's a few other shops down there that's probably got some stuff to look at too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple other shops in Florida that are, you know, they have nice stuff, you know. They try to carry the better stuff. Yeah, that's a good source to go hunt down a pendulum. I just thought we'd talk about pendulums and some other fortune-telling tools. Because a lot of people, I don't think, understand how that kind of, like, relates to mentalism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the little fortune teller from 1854.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, there's a couple versions of that. There's a paper version. You can get one of the paper versions from Robert or me. You can also get a wood version from me. It comes with a little booklet. The wood version is completely engraved. It sits on a table. It's got a bunch of numbers on it. They pick a number, they look it up in the book, and that's their fortune. Fairly simple, right? The instructions were edited to fit more of a modern audience, but it's a good thing to use. Well, if you have you're working for tips or whatever, you have a donation basket, you want somebody just to come up to the booth, it's a good attention grabber. It also makes, if you buy a back-of-the-room cash machine, I think was it 1 or 2?
It was in, I believe it was in 1.
Back-of-the-room cash machine, you get the version we did, me and Robert did, that you can sell in the back of the room. And Robert banks on those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's now actually a percentage of his income for the year. Selling them bad boys. He sold quite a few of them.
Yeah, it's not bad either.
They're a nice product. I mean, there's a couple different ways to cut it and stuff, but, you know, that's a good device. There's other things like the old Sybil logs, which I think are kind of cool. They're little wood logs from the 60s. They're about $17 to sell on eBay. You cast them on the thing and look the answers up in the book. You have little symbols on them. Those are pretty cool. The low pan sticks, those are nice. You know, for variety reading stuff. And those are nice. Runes, you know, you always get a nice set of runes. Mm-hmm. And you really do want a nice set of runes. You don't want a crappy set of runes, you know. Pay a little extra and get something that looks nice.
Right.
Because those are the things you can use for other things, but you're going to work with those for years to come. Everybody needs an ESP deck. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about the new ESP decks on the market. Everybody needs a Duke University ESP deck. You can get them at Ryan.org.
Yeah.
Direct from J.B. Ryan's Institute. So they support themselves selling those decks. They're like $20 a deck. Everybody needs one. Get one. Get little stars on the back. You have 2 stars in one corner and 1 star in the other corner. You're good. You're one way. But everybody needs to own the original ESP deck. There's really no substitute for that deck. You know, because there's a lot of effects that were published in the 50s and 60s, but even in the late 40s, actually, you know, when this first started, I think 48, 49. They used something based on that deck. But by the 50s and 60s, that was a very popular deck. There's some great works out there published on it, on how to, you know, do tricks with that particular deck, from King's House Cards, Marl Haynes, and a guy named Milan. Haynes Milan put out a great book on ESP for using those cards. You can go to, you move up a couple years and you get into some stuff from the 80s of Jerry Masters and a few other guys. Great stuff, little packet effects, but great material in this packet effects, you know. Using anywhere from a whole deck of those ESP cars to just a small deck. Now, the ESP cars used to be about $2.50 a deck. Now they're like $20 for welcome to club.
Right.
But they're still worth buying because they are brute size, you know. Don't ask if they have them in bicycle. I'll come over to your house to smack you. You know, the original deck. Because that's the deck. When people think of ESP symbols and cards, they're going to think of one deck. Right?
Mm-hmm.
When your lay audience has seen these for ESP testing, they're going to think of one deck, and that is the Rhino ESP deck. Hands down. It is the best deck. I mean, it really is. I got probably 10 or 15 of them.
Yeah.
And various, you know, I got some of them, they're so old, I tend to break the decks open and mix them together. Some of them have some sun-faded cards and non-sun-faded cards. And I take the sun-faded cards, put those all in one deck, put the other ones in that weren't sun-faded in another deck. You know, it's just, they're from the 60s. I mean, they've been making this deck forever. It's a great deck. But that's the thing, though. You know, when we look at iconoclastic images, right, for this type of thing, when we're doing fortune telling, Rider-Waite, right?
Right.
The infamous Rider-Waite tarot. Is pretty much the deck everybody associates for tarot. Now, is it actually the best deck to use? Right now, knowing what I know, maybe. I mean, in some cases, yes. In other cases, you can go to what's known as an Oracle deck that'll give you a few extra options. Like the John Howland I really like. This is a nice quality deck. Got a gold band around the outside edges of the cards. Looks like an old book, you know. It's a really nice deck. It's called the Psychic Oracle, I believe, from John Howland. Came out in like the early 90s. Kind of hard to find at times. The Lenormand decks, you know, the ones that Enrique uses all the time. Those are great decks.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful looking deck. You can get, there's two versions of it. You can get it with the French wording or without the wording. Both are equally handy. You know, sometimes it's just pictures, and sometimes it's the one with words like "the devil" or whatever it is. But there's nice ambience there, and those are good quality decks usually. Now, the best place to do deck shopping right now is at, well, I'll give you two. Llewellyn Books. That's two L's. L.L. Llewellyn. The company's named after George Llewellyn, the astrologer from the 30s. Good stuff there. Lots and lots of new decks that are put out. But all the new decks are put out and usually printed by a company called U.S. Games. They have a website. They usually list a lot of their new releases or new decks come out, so you can check those out there. And you know how many people know that? Not many. Unless you're running like a little new age boutique. Well, that's what we got in fortune telling. That's like general necessities that everybody should have.
Right.
Pendulum, tarot deck, ESP deck. Now, you do a lot of cartomancy, just fortune telling with playing cards.
Mm-hmm.
What's your preference on decks for that?
My preference on decks has always been something that the audience can relate to, something that they see in stores, which is just a typical classic bicycle deck.
Bicycle? Okay.
Right. Okay. Now, however, Mystic Alexandre did a really nice cartomancy deck that he had, and he gave it to me as a gift. and I forget who it's made by, but it looks really, really cool. Like if you really wanted to present it in a very mystical way, mystical setting. I'll have to double check on that, but it's really nice. But me personally, I always like to use things that people can relate to. Okay, I mean that's kind of like what I always say, like coin workers. Why are they using silver dollars that people don't even know about when they can use quarters? Okay.
Well, some of that it has to do with how big it fits in your hand, but and how visible it is. But yeah, you'd be better. I think you'd be better off a lot of times with using at least $5, something a little bit more current. But
right, exactly. But getting back to cartomancy, my personal preference has always been just use a regular bicycle set.
Okay.
Now,
see, I'm just a fan of Tally Ho, so I'm gonna use the Tally Ho spiral back, the round, circular round back. Which is still, basically, we used to be a drugstore deck, or I use aviators.
Yeah.
Now, I use aviators when I'm giving the cards away. Mm-hmm. Where I'm maybe writing a note on the card and giving it away, I use aviator.
Right. So, I mean, there were times when I did cartomancy readings, I used casino decks.
Yeah, old casino decks and just write on them, give them away,
Yeah, these are decks that you can find in a dollar store. They come from the casinos, like, from Bellagio or MGM Grand. These are decks that were used in play, and then what they do is that they alter them so that, I think they cut off the corners, so the corners kind of feel a little weird, but so to make sure that, it's not used in play again.
Yeah. Well, they used to drill holes through them and do all kinds of stupid stuff to them. But yeah, that's.
Yeah.
But for disposable decks, those are pretty fine too. I mean, they're cheap. You can get a dollar store and pick those up. And if you're lucky, some of the dollar stores, because I just found one the other day, have the miniature rider weights that have the instructions by Doc Hilford and John Stetson.
Oh, yeah.
That was put out many years ago. Sometimes they pop up in these dollar shops. It's kind of just a kind of cool deck,
Yeah.
The little mini rider weight. A little tiny deck, too. It's only like 1 by 2 inches. A little tiny thing, hard to use. But it's got instructions by two of our bros. So.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fun deck anyway,
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking to find them, but they're out there.
Yeah, just to have it laying around, I'm going to go with a full-size deck over a miniature deck and tarot anytime.
Mm-hmm.
But the other things, like fortune-telling stuff, I make a set of casting chips for casting lots,
Mm-hmm.
Yes, no, and blank, and those work really well because those can be used to get you off a particular question.
Mm-hmm.
And then some classic fortune-telling stuff was Brother Shadow's fortune-telling dice that, you're going to pay a couple $100 for these days, if you can even find a set. Didn't make that many of them either. They're all handmade by Brother Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been some really cool stuff out there over the last, 25, 30 years. There's some electronic fortune tellers that are kind of fun. Little battery upgrade things. You push a button on them, and they go until you answer the question. Those are kind of cool. And sometimes that stuff turns up in 5 and dime stores, or what used to be called the 5 and dime store, or novelty shops. The dollar stores, or sometimes the $5 store. They got those now. But sometimes you'll see those, and those are kind of cool, actually. These little battery-powered fortune teller devices. Magic 8 balls are kind of fun,
Oh, absolutely. How about 20 questions, 20Q? Where you see those at the stores. They're really cool. I mean, this thing, asks you like 20 questions, and then it's like a mind reading device.
Yeah, and you can actually use it for mind reading. It's not that hard to use it for mind reading.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of those electronic ones that I'm talking about, I can't remember the name of it. It's a little thin one, it's almost a credit card thing. It has what looks to be a random pattern at first, but if you play with it for about an hour, you'll notice a pattern.
Exactly.
It'll go through like a very cyclical pattern. So, you know,
mm-hmm.
as long as you know where you're at in that pattern, you can predict whatever's going to come up next.
Yeah.
And then it does have like 5 answers or 6 answers, but it's 6 answers, and it starts like a chase or rotation thing. But it's not exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's more like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then it goes to 2, 1, or 2, 3, type thing. But as long as you pay attention to it, it is a rotational pattern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that reminds me of a really good routine that Alon New came up with using that device. I think it was in his New Ways manuscript, which is now long out of print. But he had a really good routine with using that.
I don't remember seeing it in there.
Mm-hmm.
He might have been using another device. But yeah.
Yeah.
Was that on the New Way manuscript?
No, it was with the 20Q.
Oh, it's 20 cube. Okay, I was thinking of the electronic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's all kinds of like really cool stuff out there that is not sold in the magic shops.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it's sold to your everyday Joe. But a lot of the stuff you can use. One of the greatest things that I really, really like, there was 2, I'll give them to you. The Kreskin ESP game. Okay, you got pendulum in there and you got pendulum charts. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a fun piece, a little plastic pendulum. I don't like the pendulum, but it works. It does its job. It's a little wavy. Can you give a good example of what Robert's talking about, the shaky? Yeah.
Yeah. Shaky wavy.
Yeah, the plastic elongated teardrop pinball, or a ping pong ball, you know. But whatever, kind of a cool piece. It's a little $14 game. That was actually kind of fun because I think back in the 80s, Larry Becker did some work on it. A couple other guys did where they actually turned it into a mentalism routine, so you just need the Kreskin board. Kreskin did put out a square cube pendulum that's actually pretty cool. About $30 now. $30, $40 on eBay. It's made out of like lucite, but it looks like crystal. A square cube. It's actually kind of cool. It's a fortune-telling device. I actually like that one. And the other one is the Miss Cleo, who just died recently, tarot cards from her As Seen on TV set.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can buy an As Seen on TV set for about $3 complete. You just have to pay shipping. You know? But you can get a card, it's the Miss Cleo card. It comes with a VHS tape and a little booklet. And a nice little package. But the cards are actually kind of cool. Old nostalgia, you know, Miss Cleo fortune-telling cards. They're actually kind of cool. But if you're walking around like on the flea markets, you occasionally see unopened boxes of Miss Cleo's fortune-telling cards, you know, for like $3 a set with the DVD and stuff. They don't sell for much, and nobody wants them because they're too expensive to ship. But kind of a cool thing, because the cards in them are actually really pretty cool. And they're easy to read, and a lot of older people recognize them immediately and can think it's kind of funny that you're using Miss Cleo's cards.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's something different. Something you don't see every day. It's a little bit of psychic nostalgia from the early 90s. And they get you a good pendulum scrying board. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Back to pendulums. The yes-no boards or the letter boards or whatever. It's all part of that package on pendulum portion we did. But you get that at Stevens, I think. But that's got a lot of other information on pendulum stuff. But pendulums, in general, I'm going to go back to that because it's important. you want a nice weighted pendulum. Now, here's the thing. What Robert may call a nice weighted pendulum, I may not like. Okay, and then what I like, Robert may not like. So here's the tip. Get a pendulum that works really well for you, okay? On the weight, right? So you got a pendulum that's your medium pendulum, that's your baseline pendulum, that works really, really well for you. Get a second pendulum that is like, if you looked at it in a scale, like, so let's say that pendulum's a 6 in weight, on a scale from 1 to 10. It's a 6 weight. You're going to want to pick up a 5 weight, what you would consider a 5 weight, and what you would consider a 7 weight pendulum. So essentially you'd have 3 pendulums with 3 different styles and 3 different weights. Okay?
Okay.
Now, the pendulum that you're always going to use will be the 5 weight, or the 5 style. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The pendulum that you may hand to a person may be either you're going to use the 6, I'm sorry. You're going to use the 6 in this description. The pendulum you're going to hand to the person is going to be the 5 or the 7 weight. Now, that's based on one thing. How big are they? If they're a small, tiny, frail kind of person, play around with handing them the lesser weight pendulum. Okay? See how that works for you. In some areas, the small people are actually quite strong, so you go to the other side. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
When working farm towns. You know what I mean? The farm girls may be real frail and tiny, but they're actually quite strong. So you may go to a heavier pendulum. You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Now, when you're working like the big cities like Atlanta or New York, if it's a small girl, I'd usually go to a lighter pendulum so it's not real heavy and, awkward in their hands. But if you get somebody that's about your size, give them yours. You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
But having like 3 different weights of pendulums there, I usually, when I do pendulum stuff, I'll have like 10 or 15, but I'm kind of a nutty case on that. So you have that, and that would be just a general average about 3 pendulums. Now, one you can have, additional to that would be the really ultra nice pendulum that only you touch.
Yes.
Your old DX, the Quizio. This is my favorite pendulum in the world, and you're not touching it. Nobody is, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's acceptable, but still, when you're using pendulums with other people or you're having them hold the pendulum doing work, a couple different sizes of pendulums are not a bad thing. Maybe a little variance in chain weight, 1/2 inch longer or shorter, it makes a big difference. The weight style, the type of hold on the top of the pendulum. Plus, it also gives them a little bit of a choice. So you can use it as a past, present, future type thing too, right? I set 3 pendulums out on a small stand. Pick one. Well, depending on what I send an notation to them as past, present, and future. From me to them, you know what I'm saying? Or from them to me, depending on what I'm working. So let's say it's one farthest away is the future because you got to reach farther to grab it. The one closest then has to do with the past. The one in the middle is present. Now we can tailor the question to that event or to that time period. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Which, using 3 pendulums is a lot better that way.
Oh.
Yeah, so if you set it on a little stand, maybe 12 inches tall or something, it's got 3 pendulums on it. The one closest to them is the past. If you think about it rationally, what would be closest to them, the past, would be the farthest away from them, the future. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you need to answer, to get extra confirmation on the question, then we go into the counterclockwise and clockwise rotations and left-right rotations. I'm not going to explain that in the Psicast, but I will explain. 3 pendulums, past, present, future, are kind of handy of 3 different ways. And some of you out there be going, yes, that's what I want to listen to this for. Because you will immediately know how valuable that information is. And other people out there that listen to this will be like, oh, what? What are you talking about? But yeah, so that's pendulums. Now, the thing back on tarot decks, we'll jump back to tarot decks for a minute. You get away with using any tarot deck you want now. You could not 10 years ago. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
10 years ago, you were primarily stuck with either you used a particular deck all the time, and that was the only deck you used, and that's what they know you for, you were known for, or you used the standard Rider-Waite tarot deck. That was it. That was, years ago, that was the options, man. When you go back, when you jump back like 20 years, that was your option. But now you can get, there's so many decks on the market, you get pretty much free reign. So buy something that you like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Buy something that does not scare your people you're reading for. Okay, so in this case, I'd say 2 decks are pretty handy to have laying around, One being the general Rider-Waite, and then the other one, maybe your personal Gothic deck, if you want. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you don't want, and also when you're looking for a tarot deck, if you go to the metaphysical shops and look at the tarot deck, you usually have samples laying open. You know what I'm saying? So look for a tarot deck that has good quality paper, good quality weight. Don't pick up a cheap tarot deck that's flimsy, because you're going to work with this thing, you know what I mean? So pick it up kind of like you would your playing cards or whatever, Make sure you get something that's got a nice slide to it, slides well. You don't want it too rough, too smooth. You don't want it too cheap and flimsy. The thicker the paper, the longer it's going to last, And tarot decks can be anywhere from, what are they now, $20 to $50?
Yeah, I think so.
On average. I mean, some of the older collectible decks are more, obviously, but they're older and collectible, but the newer decks, probably $19 to $29 seems to be an average. I'd say you're pretty safe at that. But get something that feels right to you. It's got a nice weight to it. It's not flimsy and not cheap. And you know why? You know why you don't want to use a cheap deck? Other than the Rider-Waite. That's an exception to the rule. If your deck is a $3 tarot deck, that's about what you can expect to get out of a reading too.
True.
You see what I'm saying?
You get what you pay for.
No, you don't necessarily need the $5,000, $700 tarot deck or whatever, but that would get you business. But you do not want to use a really cheap tarot deck, because if your tools are trash, okay, they're immediately going to have a judgment about you that's not going to be good. Don't use trashy tools. We did a program a while back, table setup for merchandising for us. Back in room sales, like Geek Entertainers, this kind of thing. I would say some of you go back and refer to that 3-hour dissertation on proper table setups. That's so you can maximize your potential while you're doing readings for tips even. So there's not much in that. There is a lot more in the complete fortune teller's kit, I would say. You know, like with crystals, crystal wands, gemstones, certain pieces of metal, different types of woods, that kind of thing. But you don't need any of that to start off with. You know, for your basic stuff, I'd say 3 pendulums, 2 tarot decks. And that's a pretty good working professional kit. A nice deck of playing cards. If you're going to do cardomancy, it can be in the box.
Mm-hmm.
A good quality box to put all this stuff in for, you know, psychic readings.
Yeah.
That stuff is important, people. I can't even tell you the value of a box. I mean, I've done entire programs on the value of the box.
Yeah,
I got probably
value.
6 or 7 hours of discussion on the value of the box.
Yeah.
No. Let me just be clear, bizarrist. Old, shitty-looking boxes in a psychic fair, not a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It can be an old antique box, but it needs to be in good shape. It can't smell like death. It's bad. Doesn't make you money.
Yeah.
Just letting you know. And I know I put out formulas on how to make the senses smell like graveyards and death. So there's certain things you do want to do, and there's certain things you do not want to do. You know, this one you want a little bit more elegant box. But it's same with the cards. You know, your tools are going in this. Now, if you've done this stuff right, occasionally you'll have to replace the cards, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You may or may not have to ever replace a pendulum, depending on how well you take care of them. Now, when you pack them away at the end of the day, take a little plastic bag, pack it inside the plastic bag, leave the hole, the top of it, sticking out the bag a little bit, and then ziplock it. Okay, that'll keep it from getting tangled. You understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The little, those little things.
Yeah, the holding end, you know, is leave that hanging out of the bag and then ziplock it so it's tight. So it doesn't have any way to tie up and knot up on you. That's a pretty good tip. And then pack that into another, you know, cloth bag or something into your box, and, you know, a good pair of dice for number reading. Very handy thing that most people don't think about, you know. Now, in dice, you can use old bone dice, old witch's dice. You can get some really nice bone dice out of Nepal from time to time. Expensive, but who cares, you know. They're made out of yak bone. But those are good quality dice, you know. They look like old, and you can also get some nice metal dice right now, made out of copper or stainless steel. Those are really cool, actually. Those got a nice weight to it, and those are going to last a long time. But they're heavy, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like one dice is probably an ounce of copper. It's got some weight to it. And those can be purchased at the the wargaming shops. You know, they're about $15-20 a set, but 3/4 inch dice, 1/2 inch dice are made out of solid metal. They'll last a while.
Uh-huh.
You know, just keep polished up and looking good. Those are actually kind of nice to use in a lot of text reading systems, you know, numerology systems and stuff like that, which is the base 12 system, or longer, larger if you want it. But that stuff works really, really well when you need them, you know. Plus, even if you only do readings, okay, well, let's say you're only specializing in tarot. Mm-hmm. You have, I'm going to give you a tip, you have a nice box. You have a nice pencil in the box, you have some dice in that box. You may have a set of regular playing cards for cardomancy, even though you don't do cardomancy, but you do it with tarot. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you open the box up, it's like you are a fortune teller, right? You have the tools of a fortune teller. Even though that's not what you specialize in or do, but, you know, it's there. If you ever need it, it's there. You know how to use it. You may not ever use it, but at least when the person sees it, see it over the other guy that's got a big deck of cards laying on the table, then, who's this jerk off? Does he know anything?
Yeah.
Because it's like if you called how do I want an analogy that? If you call a mechanic and he shows up with one wrench and one socket, he's not a very good mechanic. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So there are tools for fortune tellers. Get a crystal. Any crystal will work. Just have a crystal or gemstone there. Nice velvety bag, Really, you don't need that much, per se. Which is nice, because that could be your entire kit for working for the next 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
I got one of my early kits packed away. I don't use it anymore, but it's got the same stuff in it. It's got the same stuff in it that it had 20 years ago. I got a new kit I use, but it's one of those things where you want that type of kit. You know what I mean? Very basic. Now I got a full kit that's got a lot more stuff in it, which allows me a lot more freedom. But it's what somebody calls a steamer trunk, but it's got a lot of stuff in it, man. It's off the hook. But yeah, it's so just a few things on that. I noticed, I don't know if you noticed that same thing I did, Robert. More and more mentalists were looking at fortune telling and psychic readings recently.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, did you notice that?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And they were going on and on and on about all this magic-y psychic reading stuff. That's ridiculous.
It is.
We didn't even mention my name. Those cats going to last 5 minutes. They wouldn't last 5 minutes in the same room when I work.
Yeah.
That's about how long they would last before they got thrown off the plane. But I think that's it for this podcast.
Okay.
Let's have a little fortune telling this week.
Yeah. In regards to just pointing out one thing, when Bill mentioned earlier about the fortune teller that is in the back of the room cash machine, it's actually in volume 2, not 1, volume 2. So if you're interested, email Bill or me and pick yourself up a copy, because I'll tell you, I use it. I use it in my back of room table. All my shows, and they pick them up like hotcakes.
Man, this kept you in McDonald's for months.
Yeah.
That's a week, man. There's breakfast.
Yeah.
I know you're in the 4-figure category now from selling to that particular item.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's a good piece of extra change, man.
Yeah, it's great. So yeah,
and you get the new item that's on your table, it's selling too. So yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's one of those things that if made up properly, it doesn't cost you much, and it does make a pretty good return.
Yeah. So it's in back of the room cash machine 2.
Yeah, because back of the room cash machine had other fortune tellers. There's so much stuff in that. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
What's all in that package? In 2? Do you have it open up in the Dropbox?
Yeah, let me go ahead and pull it
Give
up.
Give them a rundown of 1 and 2. Let them know how ridiculous that thing is.
All right.
This could take a while.
All right. So in the first back of the room cash machine, we had the training. Let's see here. Yeah, we had a teleseminar. We also had the training.
How long was the first teleseminar?
The teleseminar that we did, like the follow-up, it was like almost like 2.5 hours.
Right, and what was the first? There was the first teleseminar, and then there was a follow-up teleseminar.
Yeah, and then the actual training seminar is like 2 hours and 40 minutes.
And then there was a second follow-up teleseminar.
which was 2.5 hours.
5 hours of stuff right there, yeah.
Yeah, 5
Plus
hours.
you get an e-book.
Yes. So you basically get a digital copy with the rights to produce. It's an actual pitch book that I used to sell. Then there's one on dowsing that Bill made. And then there's the PDF that comes along with the back of the room cash machine. And also the black hole, the eye test, and the penny wobbler.
And complete instructions on a make package and all that stuff on those.
Exactly. So
it's literally a ready-made package. Just there it is. You already got images to work from. They're clean.
Yeah.
And there was what? There's like 20 pieces in the whole thing, the collection, isn't it?
Yeah. Almost.
But I mean, there's like card packaging and all that stuff that's there.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Back of the Room 2 got a whole lot more. So.
Yeah, it was off the hook.
Yeah. So you got the PDF with it. You had the audio training MP3, which was like 2 hours. And then the follow-up teleconference seminar, which was like almost 2 hours. So that's like 4 hours there. And then you had more back-of-the-room products like the illusions, like the rabbit duck, the old young, the boar Yorick skull.
So you get Yorick skull in different colors too. They create a different effect. Now, when we say we're not giving you these weren't versions that were downloaded online and just thrown in the book. These were versions that were found, cleaned up, re-cleaned up, and cleaned up some more. They're nice versions. Yeah. Probably the finest versions out there.
Yeah.
And they're really clean and they're ready to be laminated. I mean, it's pretty much like that.
Right.
I didn't put trash.
Yeah.
Illustrations in that book. And those illustrations, just those 4 you mentioned, took probably 20 hours of digital processing to get clean.
Yeah.
That means there's no fuzz in the background or, in the pink files anyway.
Yeah. And then you got the fortune teller with the pitch book. And then you
got instructions on how to cut it and lay it out and present it.
Yep.
You got pictures of the wood ones I make if you want to upgrade.
Yeah. And then you have a pitch book on the great history. Then one on a bolt puzzle. And then you got one on an honest ape. And then a voodoo.
Oh, yeah, the honest ape portion. That's a fortune-telling device, too.
Yep.
That's similar to if you're just jigged up for the jigged up, that's a woodshop term for making a jig to make your penny wobblers. You cut them a little deeper to make the honest ape. And the honest ape sells quite well. I mean, I sold, I don't know, a few hundred of those bad boys. That's 2 cents, people.
Yeah.
So the penny wobblers, I don't know how many of those I made for guys. A few gross, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, there was add-ons that you could, if you wanted a proper display, I made some proper displays for some of the guys, some custom stuff.
Yeah, so you have no excuse for not making money.
No, it's basically, think of it like pitch books. It's just stuff it's physical products that you can sell that are like old kids' toys and stuff like that are actually quite unique to this marketplace today. Because people don't see them, they sell for a few dollars. $3, you got 40 cents in it.
Yeah.
Or less, including your time,
Right.
Or you got, I think one costs like 9 cents and sells for $2. It's a nice way to do a little back of the room stuff. And when you're selling these kind of things, I'll touch on that real quickly. You need to have a variety. You need to have 2 or 3 different items, preferably 3 or more, 3 to 5. 3, 5, 7 is good. I have a lot more because I carry a lot more with me. But, that back of the room sales, some days, man, that's as much as your show.
Absolutely.
And then other days, it's, a good percentage of your show fee, 20%. Some days, depending on what you're billing out at.
Yeah.
Other days, it's maybe 5, 10, but it's an extra $20 to $50, $60 on a bad day in your pocket. Depending on what you're selling and what you're selling it at. And we discuss all that. We also discuss how to set up the back of the room tables and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then in table merchandising, I covered even more stuff. So there's at least 10 or 12 hours, of just information on that subject right there with table merchandising, which is, let's break it down. Let's say, hypothetically, your show is $100. Okay? If your show is $100, raise your rates, please. But let's say your show is $100. You want to do a show, and in some venues like dinner theater and stuff, you can set up little back of the room tables, and you can probably make an extra, $50, $60, hypothetically, usually more than that. But now you're getting paid $150, $160 for the night, That's how important back of the room is. For those guys that never got it through their head.
Yeah.
Because, see, back of the room isn't about selling stuff. It's not about making money. That's not why you have the back of the room sales there. Although it does make you money, it's not why it's there. Robert knows why it's there. I know why it's there. It's so they can take a piece of you home with them. Mm-hmm. Which is profoundly important.
So true.
But that's why it's there. It's not about the money or anything. It's if they like the show, it's a way for them to, take part of the show home with them. And you can get into things like hats and T-shirts and that stuff, and that's great. But a lot of guys don't have that to start out with,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of guys don't have the, $500-$600 to throw down on a table to start with. They have their own hats and, T-shirts and printed books and big posters and all that, That gets into thousands of dollars by the time you're done. So back of the room cash machine was a way for guys to start out for very little, really. Getting the education on the thing, If you use it, you actually make money. I mean, let's look at the cost of those. They're $97 a piece. Volume 1's $97, Volume 2's $97, I think. Table merchandising is what, $59? So that's, let's call it $250, $260 for that package. $260 for that package. If you didn't know anything and had to do it all over again, Robert, but only knowing what you've made off that shit, would you drop $260 again?
Oh, absolutely. And if I knew that it was going to make me a whole lot of money, oh yeah.
Yeah, because I know you can pretty much tag a zero on that price.
Oh yeah.
That was your return on the ROI on that one was a good deal.
Oh yeah.
And that's just ROI from one piece, and that was the little fortune teller that you decided to add in. In the time you've been using it. And it's still going to pay you for the rest of your life, man.
Yeah.
And you are one of the fortunate ones that has your own laminator and cutters and stuff, so you don't have to go to Kinko's for any of that stuff. Right. So you have a little advantage over some of them, you know what I mean? You can save some money there, but we discussed that. We discussed lamination and that kind of stuff in 1 and 2. When 3 comes out, it's going to talk about packaging. It's going to have some more stuff on packaging, including how to use 2 pieces of bubble wrap, 2 12x12 bubble wrap, and pack 11-inch object in it. If you were to wrap that, you're going to use 3 or 4 sheets. So you can get a little bag sealer type machine, and I'll show a picture of one, an older one that I used to seal the bags. And it's a nice way to present the stuff, protected, bubble wrapped. That's what I used to ship a lot of stuff. I actually shipped some stuff for Volume 1 this morning. Packed up 5 pieces,
Mm-hmm.
I think I used 7 sheets of bubble wrap in total. It's perfectly in the box. Everything looks professional. And that was for some woodwork he sold on Etsy,
Yeah.
He's got one to pack right, so when it gets to them, they go, hey, pack good. There's a good score on that. There's a good score on that. For sale in the new store. So, but yeah, it's an invaluable piece of information there. Yeah, it's a product. Yeah, we sell it. We use the money to pay for this thing, the Psicast. So your support is always appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we still have no winners for the donation thing because nobody's donated.
Yep.
Pretty sad, but that's what it is.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for Back to the Room 3. I don't know when we're going to get that out, but we're working.
Back in the Room 1 and 2 were probably 6 months worth of work.
Yeah.
There's stuff I showed you how to build in there.
Oh, yeah.
Dowsing bobbers, too. We did dowsing bobbers. Those are hot sellers, if you can make them. It's a product that's a little bit more in value. And we covered, in the first one I covered smaller end products, to get you started off. They usually have pitch books in there that you can use. Well, as it, you can even take the pitch book out of the thing, rewrite it in your own voice, and then make it yours. Put your name on it. Bam, go. One pitch book usually sells for $50. And most of those aren't very good. These are little booklet type things. So that you can sell for $5, $10, $20. There's a lot of stuff there. There's a lot of value there if you do this kind of thing. And I know I got a lot of guys that were waiting for Back to the Room 3 to come out, but I'm so backed up. It's not even funny. I'm still finishing Mystic Energy 8.
Mm-hmm.
Which is another monumental series. And then we started the new series, Other Factors. So,
yep.
Constantly working there. But yeah, there's some cool stuff in there. And some of you may not like, and whatever. It's not about the products in the book. It's about a way to think about the products that you can make your own Back to the Room. It's different from everybody else out there.
Yep.
So it's not necessarily, there's tips in there and there's stuff in there that, yes, you will end up using. I can almost guarantee that. But it may not be those products. You may not use it for those products. You may use it for your own product, But yeah, there's a lot of stuff, especially if you're one of those guys that goes around doing the free talk thing that we talked about several times.
Mm-hmm.
Which is how you got started in this business. Now you're getting freaking movie deals and stuff.
Yeah,
had to get that one in there. Yeah, but you started off doing free talks.
Yep.
You're working dinner theaters and getting movie deals, getting paid.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, though. It's it's not where you start; it's where you end up at. So, but that whole thing is an educational system that, frankly, is not easy to learn. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But, I think that's all we got this week.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll have a guest next week. And hopefully there'll be some new, exciting news, some product coming out, so we can talk about that too. But, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe still next week it's Easter, or the week after Easter, so.
Absolutely.
But that's it for this one. Hope you got something out of it, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, absolutely. So this wraps it up for this week. And until the next one, we will see you guys later.